Today we are reading a chapter called Flying Bullets. This is February 1979. We're going to try to read two chapters today. I have lived with the family for a month now, and the longer I am with them, the more my hatred grows. However, I know that no matter how I feel about them, their home is safer than living by ourselves. Even though Persat City is protected by the Yuns, people still live in fear. Among the villagers, there have been many discussions about the Khmer Rouge closing in on us. The village men say the Khmer Rouge soldiers are all around us, some even hiding in the village or in nearby woods. It is hard to tell the soldiers from the civilians when they are all the same people, speak one language, and wear the same black clothes. Hiding their guns, the soldiers can easily infiltrate the refugee camp and spy on our activities. Every once in a while, a group of Khmer Rouge soldiers attacks a random village, raids the houses, kills a few people, and then ducks back into the woods. They attack without warning, and since no one knows when or where they will appear, we must have eyes in the back of our heads all the time. The refugee village is so large that in these surprise raids, the Yuns are not able to arrive in time to protect us until people have been killed. One afternoon, while the grandmother and I are outside the hut, squatting near the well, scrubbing pots and pans, I hear the unmistakable whizzing of bullets around me. Flying bullets! I scream. Dropping flat and pressing my chest against the wet ground, I lay in the wet scum of dishwater as it soaks through my shirt and pants. My heart pounding in my ears, I stare at a small ant spinning in a circle in a puddle next to my face. I clasp my hands over my ears as more bullets ring in the air. They explode like Chinese firecrackers, one after another in a feverish succession. A few seconds later, the bullets stop. My cheek presses to the ground. I watch the same ant flailing its forelegs in the half inch of water. The more it struggles, the more it spins. A few seconds pass and still no more bullets. Raising my head, I quickly get up from the dirt and crawl on my hands and knees behind a tree. Suddenly, the grandmother screams, a loud, shrill cry. Up above the sun hides behind Up above, the sun hides behind the clouds. My body still protected by the tree, I peer out to look at her. She is on the ground, lying in a fetal position on her side, both hands clutching her leg as thin red blood pours out from a wound above her ankle, staining her skirt. The blood forms a pool around her feet, mixing with dishwater as it seeps into the earth. She screams and cries for help, but I crouch in my hiding place. In the hut, the children scream and cry as the mother hushes them. Seconds later, the father jumps frantically out from the hut and picks her up off the ground. Then he carries her off to the camp hospital with his son trailing behind him. I do not come out of my hiding place, afraid that if they see me, they'll blame me for not helping the grandmother. Long after they have gone, and after the mother has calmed down the little kids, I am still behind the tree. I sit there, scratching the dry mud out from between my toes, and then looking up at the sky, wondering when more bullets will rain down on us. Though my heart is beating wildly, I feel nothing. My mind still makes pictures and creates thoughts, but I do not have any attachment to them. I am sorry she got shot, but she is mean and often slaps my face and pinches my arms and ears. Now I will not have to see her wrinkled face or hear her poisonous mouth for a while. I stay behind the tree deep in my own world until Chow and Kim return from gathering wood. 3 days later, the mother sends me to bring food to the grandmother in the hospital. I take the packet wrapped in banana leaves and head toward the hospital. It takes me an hour to walk the 2 miles. The small, well traveled red dirt footpath cuts through the town and is usually quite safe. On this day, all is quiet, and yet I nervously put one foot in front of the other, my eyes scanning the trees and bushes around me for signs of the Khmer Rouge. Neglecting to look down, I kick something and hear it roll away from me. It is rusty green and shaped like an egg with little square boxes on the surface. I freeze and suck in my breath. My knees are weak and my feet sting as if I have been electrocuted. It is a grenade. Stupid girl, you have to be more careful, I curse under my breath. Okay, that's a miracle right there. She's kicked a grenade and she's still there to tell about it. It is noon when I see the hospital. Taking short steps, I proceed slowly toward it, dreading going in. The abandoned makeshift hospital looks thicker than its patients. The one level warehouse is gray with age, crumbling from the destruction of war. Dark green mold eats through the cracks in the wall as wild trees and vines threaten to overtake the building. Stepping out of the sunlight into the dark building temporarily blinds me. Inside, the temperature is uncomfortably hot and the air hangs heavy, unmoving. The shrill cries of babies, the repetitive moans, and the echoes of shallow, labored breathing bombard the large space. The stench of human waste, urine, rotting wounds, and strong rubbing alcohol surrounds me, permeating my clothes, skin, and hair. My throat tightens and I swallow hard to suppress a gag. I want to run out of the building. My eyes twitch, wanting to shut so I do not have to look at the bodies lying on the floor. During the Khmer Rouge rule, I saw many dead bodies. Having lost all hope of escaping the Khmer Rouge, many went to the infirmary to die. They did not have families to hold their hands and swat away the flies when they became too weak. Like Kiev, they wasted away and laid in their own feces and urine completely alone. In a Khmer Rouge hospital, people moaned and whimpered in pain but did not scream. Here at the hospital in the newly liberated zone, people scream in pain because they're fighting to live. Taking small, cautious steps, I walk past rows of people lying on cots and mats on the ground. Out of the corner of my eye, something scurries away. I jump and relax. It is only a mouse. Walking on, I look at each patient, searching for the grandmother. I hate having to bring food for some old lady I don't care for. If she were Ma, it would be different. My heart sinks at the thought, and sadness spreads throughout my body. If she were Ma, taking care of her would redeem all the wrongs I've committed. Ahead of me, two nurses kneel beside a young boy. An old woman sits cross legged next to them, her face long and sad. The nurses are busy preparing silver trays of tools, bandages, and alcohol bottles. I hover over them, looking at the boy who lies motionless on a straw mat. He looks 5 or 6 years old, but I really cannot tell. His eyes are slightly open, his lips are gray and bloodless. My body vibrates with pain when I see that his upper body is badly burned. The skin looks as if it will peel off in one crisp layer. One of his legs is missing from the thigh down, and the other is wrapped in bandages. The old woman cries softly, her hand clutching his small one, her thumb massaging the top of his hand in a circle. Her other hand fans his body, chasing away the black green flies that wait to lick his scorched flesh. Bong Shrey, what happened to him? I ask the nurse as she prepares to clean him. He was walking here to visit. The boy screams then, making the old woman sob louder. My toes and feet tingle when I hear the nurse say the boy either kicked a grenade or walked over a landmine. I quickly walk away and leave them with the boy screaming until he passes out, which could have been her if, you know, for some reason that grenade didn't go off. When I find the grandmother, she is in the process of having her bandages changed by a nurse. The nurse is young and pretty and wears a gray and white uniform. She kneels by the grandma and reaches out for her arm. The grandmother swats her hand away and screams in protest. Hearing the screams, another nurse walks briskly over to assist the first nurse. She holds the grandmother by the shoulders and pushes her down on the cot. Under her weight, the grandma is forced onto her back. Are you with her? The nurse asked, noticing me standing behind her. Yes. Well, you better help us then. She is a tough one. Grab onto her other leg so she won't kick me. I have to change the bandages. I quickly obey her. With one nurse pushing her down by the shoulders and my arms wrapped around her leg, the nurse unravels layers of bloody bandages as the grandmother squirms and shakes to be free of us. The bandages coil on the floor like red dotted albino snakes, exposing the grandmother's ankle. It is red, raw, and covered by a thin cake of dried blood. Just above her ankle is a tiny black circle the size of a cigarette burn. It's lucky the bullet went straight through the flesh. Any lower and it would have shattered the ankle. The grandmother screams in response. It looks good, but we will still have to clean it. The nurse takes the silver tray of tools and pours alcohol into a white plastic bowl. With a pair of tongs, she dips a piece of white cloth into the alcohol bowl, allowing it to soak through. Okay, it's time to really hold her down now. I grip her leg tight, my nails digging into her flesh as the nurse swabs the alcohol soaked cloth on the wound. The grandmother screams and curses us, but the nurse continues to jab the cloth at the wound, wiping away the caked brown blood. When she is satisfied it is clean, the nurse wraps the ankle up again with clean white bandages. Please, the grandmother pleads, her bony fingers dragging the snot from her nose onto her cheeks. Please give me some medicine. It hurts very much. For that brief moment, the grandmother looks vulnerable, desperate, human, and my heart goes out to her. The nurse looks at her and slowly shakes her head. I'm sorry, grandmother. If we had some, I would gladly give it to you, but we do not have any medicine. The grandmother cries, both hands massaging near her ankle. She looks so frail and sad that even I pity her. When the nurse leaves, the grandmother's face darkens and she turns her attention to me. What are you doing? Give me my food. She barks at me and unwraps the banana leaves to find rice and salted pork. Stupid girl. I know you ate some on the way. I am old and I need this more than you. I say nothing and continue to stand there. You are a little thief. I know you are. You are not even grateful we took you in, stupid little thief. Hearing her hateful words, I cannot find it in my heart to feel sorry for her any more, and I leave her with her cries and moans and the stench of impending death. The next day, the father brings the grandma home from the hospital. In the hut, she laughs and plays with the grandchildren, ignoring Chow and me standing outside the hut. A few hours later, while Chow and I feed the children their lunch of rice and fish, we watch the father walk up to Kim as he waters the garden. Standing in front of him, the father says something that makes Kim's lips purse. Putting down his pail, Kim walks over to us. We have to leave in a few hours. The family can't afford to keep us. He says there's a family that will take us, and he'll return soon to take us there. Kim's voice is strong and firm, but his shoulders sag. Kim and Chow are surprised by the father's abrupt announcement. I, on the other hand, expected it to come sooner, and I wonder how much I am to blame for this his decision. We have lived with them for almost 2 months, and we have grown used to being there. I am thankful he has found a family who will take in all three of us. I am relieved that we will not have to go back to living alone on our own. Chow and I continue feeding the children while Kim returns to the garden. After their meals, I wipe and clean the children's hands and faces of dirt and dribbles. In the hut, Chow folds our spare set of black pajama shirts and pants, now faded and tattered, and puts them in Kim's backpack. By the afternoon, the father returns and asks Kim if we are ready. Kim nods. Grabbing the backpack, he carries all we have on his shoulder, while Chow and I follow him, our hands clasped tightly together, our eyes looking ahead of us. We leave without saying goodbye to the mother or the children. The father walks us to a house a mile away and introduces us to the new family. He tells them we are good workers. Kim thanks the former father for his kind words and for finding us a new family. Taking Kim's cue, Chow and I bow to him and thank him. Abruptly he turns and without a word of comfort or bidding us good luck, he walks away. I cannot understand the absence of kindness in the society other than there is no Jesus in this community, in this culture. But it is so like such a drastic difference in how I feel it would be in places where there is Christianity. I may be wrong, but that's just my thought. This new family consists of a mother, a father, and their three little children who are between ages 1 and 5. They live in a larger hut than the first family, but still we are relegated to the corner of the room. Behind the hut grows a big, luscious vegetable garden. In the front stands a tall mango tree heavy with fruit. Chow and I are to help look after the children, the garden, and various other chores, while Kim fishes and collects wood with the father. Dropping our bags, the mother hands me the baby, instructs me to look after her kids, and leads Chow to the garden. Outside the hut, with the baby balanced on my hips, I watch the mother squat next to the rows of vegetables and proceed to pull the weeds. Obediently, Chow does the same. Her faded black Khmer Rouge pajama clothes hang loosely on her thin body as her back bends over the garden. Chow is 11 and only 3 years older than me, but at times I feel much older than she is. It still amazes me how she can survive by being accepting and not fighting back. Though we live with the family as their helpers, they treat us kindly. Many times the family will have special treats such as coconut cake or sweet rice balls for dessert. No matter how we crave them, it is not proper for Kim, Chow, or I to take a piece for ourselves. The mother and children can reach for whatever they want, but we have to wait until it is given to us. Even with his children screaming for extra pieces, the father always puts a piece of each on our plates. They occasionally raise their voices, but never swear or raise their hands at us. Despite the Khmer Rouge ban on religion, they are able to continue to practice Buddhism in secret. A major Buddhist mantra preaches kindness to others, or reincarnate in the next life as a slug for all to step on. Being from the country, the family is very superstitious, especially the mother. Whenever anything happens that she cannot explain or understand, she blames it on supernatural powers. Every day she prays to the earth goddess for plentiful vegetables, the river god for plentiful fish, the wind god to bring rain, and the sun god to bring life. One of my daily chores is to wash the family's laundry. Many villagers are wearing colorful clothes now, including our new family. I look wistfully at the mother's dark orange sarong and marvel at her sky blue blouse. I remember the red dresses Mom made for Child Geek and me, our first red dresses. On New Year's morning, I remember Kiev with big pink, yellow, blue, and green prickly plastic rollers in her hair, held in by 100 small black bobby pins sticking up everywhere like porcupine quills, as she combed my hair and tied it in ponytails. Next to her on our bed, Chow worked on getting Geek ready and dressed. After Kiev finished with my hair, she put red rouge on Geek's lips and cheeks, as Chow and I slipped on our new dresses and stood in awe of each other's beauty. On our bed, we bounced with glee as our mattress squeaked, prompting Kiev to yell at us. On the other side of the hallway, Ma picked out gold necklaces and bracelets from her collection for us to wear, and she set aside a pair of red ruby earrings for Kiev because she was the only one of us girls with pierced ears. In the kitchen, our helpers cut brown roasted ducks and arranged white moon shaped cakes on a large blue plate. In the living room, Pa, Choi, Meng, and Kim, dressed in their best clothes, lit orange incense sticks, and after bowing 3 times before the red altar, decorated with gold and silver Chinese symbols of peace and happiness, they inserted the incense into a yellow clay bowl filled with rice. The baby in my arms pulls my hair and brings me out of my reverie. Looking at the mother, I assume she feels happy and joyful wearing her colored clothes. Glancing at my own, I wonder when I will also get out of Khmer Rouge uniform and into some colorful clothes. I dream of one day owning a red dress to replace the one the soldier burned. The mother interrupts my reverie when she takes the baby and asks me to do the laundry. After too many green mangoes, the 3 kids have had diarrhea all over their sheets. I roll the dirty clothes and sheets into a wicker basket and walk down to the river. With the basket balanced on my hip, I wade into the river until the water reaches my knees. I take out the sheets and spread them open on the surface of the water, allowing them to sink slowly while the diarrhea floats to the top. While doing this, little fish swim over and eat the mess. Some nip at my legs. With no detergent or soap, I must beat the bed sheets against rocks to try and clean them. This chore disgusts me, but I do it without complaining, afraid if I don't, the new family will send me away. Sometimes the mother sends me to the forest to gather firewood. I meet Tiffy along the way, and we set off, making sure to stay clear of the yun base. One day while walking, a stench attacks my nose, and I begin to cough. It resembles rotting chicken livers left out in the sun for too long. Coming around the path into a clearing, I know what the smell is before I even spot the body. The corpse lies decomposing in the sun. I hold my breath and walk toward it. Come on, let's go back, Tiffy urges, looking pale. I wave my hand at her and proceed forward while she stays back. Pinching my nose, I approach it. The face looks as if it has melted, exposing the cheekbones, the tip of the nose cartilage, and teeth in a lipless mouth. Beneath decomposing lids, the eyes are sunken deep into the skull. The eyelids and mouth are covered with small white eggs, some already hatching to become maggots, which crawl and disappear into the skin. More maggots wriggle around on the lids and out of the open mouth. Blech. Long black hair sinks into the grass, becoming one with the dirt. The chest cavity is caved in beneath the black clothes, home to hundreds of the black-green flies feasting on the body. I cover my mouth and push down vomit, not daring to look any more. Quickly I turn and walk away, but the smell of death still clings to my clothes. He was a Khmer Rouge soldier. He deserved to die. Too bad they are not all dead, I say vehemently to Pissy. She says nothing. I do not, in fact, know if the body is a civilian or a soldier. Thinking of the body as a civilian makes me think of Pa too much. It is easier to feel no pity for the dead if I think of them as all Khmer Rouge. I hate them all. Holding on to my hate for the Khmer Rouge also allows me to go on living the mundane details of life. Any Another one of my fixed duties is to go down to the river and gather water for the family. Each morning, balancing 2 water pails on a long flat piece of wood over my shoulders, I set off to fetch the water. The walk to the river is only 10 minutes, but in the February sun it always feels much longer. Squinting at a reflection in the water, I make out a figure of a girl standing on the bank. She is not much bigger than I am, and with one hand on her hip, she peers at the river bank in frustration. She removes the pails from her plank and hits at something on the grassy bank. What are you doing? I ask her. I am trying to loosen the body so it will flow downstream, she says between halting breaths. A few feet from where we are standing, a body floats past dressed in black pajama shirt and pants. He is an adult man, bigger than most men in the village and much fatter. He bobs up and down in the water, his hands and feet shiny and swollen as if made of white rubber. His upper body sways with the currents, but his pant leg is caught on some branches from the bank, and his head bobs in the water each time the girl pokes him with her wood. I want to loosen him up so he'll go downstream. He'll dirty the water. Maybe his juices will flow into my pails. Blech. Her logic makes complete sense to me. I remove my pails and with my stick help to push the body away. With the two of us beating on it, it bobs and sways even more. Finally, we loosen the leg and the body floats a few feet down before getting stuck again near the bank. This time he's inches away from us. The water is too shallow. On the count of three, you push the body, I'll push the head. I direct. After a concerted effort, the body finally floats down the river, his long hair spreading around. The picture tugs at my heart and knots at my stomach. For a few brief seconds, I think of Geek and hope the soldiers did not put her in a bag and throw her into the river. I nearly cry at the thought of someone poking at her body, but I push the tears down. Another dang Khmer Rouge, I mutter under my breath. I hate them. I hope they all die. We wait a few minutes until we believe the body fluids have all floated past us before fetching our water. That is a rough existence. At the hut, the clay water container stands as tall as my chest. It takes me many trips and most of the morning to fill it up, and still the water runs low by the end of the day. In the evening, Chow, Kim, and I repeat our water chores before we go to sleep. We keep the pot full so we can have easy access to the water for we fear we will fall in if we have to reach to the bottom. Kim Chow and I have had red eye disease for 2 weeks now. I fear I might have given the disease to them because I dare to look at the dead bodies. Somehow the disease must have flown from the bodies and into my eyes, making them red as the blood I poke at with my stick. Every morning I wake up unable to open my eyes because both of my lids are glued together. Painfully I pick, pinch, and pull the crud off my lashes so it is thick that I have, but I have little success. They have conjunctivitis, which is, all when your eye gets all gummy and gooky. Conjunctivitis, pink eye is what you've heard it as probably. Kim, are you there? I call out to him. In the dark, I sense a hand searching for me, finally finding my arm. It's me, Chow whispers. Are you ready? I've got Kim's hand. Yes. Grabbing Chow's hand, Kim slides on his behind until he reaches the edge of the hut, then jumps to the ground and helps Chow and me. Linked together by our hands, we feel our way to the water pot. Kim retrieves a bowl full of water and puts it on the ground. Squatting around it, we scoop water with our hands and wet our lashes. By this time, the mother has awakened and is looking at us suspiciously. You must have been looking at dogs when they mate, she tells us. It's a sin to look at dirty things. The gods have punished you to make you blind. The next chapter is called Khmer Rouge Attack, February 1979. The sky is pitch black and the air is still. All is quiet except for the rhythmical chirping of crickets calling out to each other. Suddenly, a loud explosion awakens us. I sit bolt upright, my ears still ringing from the blast. My heart and stomach vibrate from the shock. Then we hear a shrilling whine before another rocket ruptures nearby. The straw walls and roof of the hut rustle and shake. The children scream at the top of their lungs, clambering around the mother. The father jumps out of the hut and runs to look outside. Chow, Kim, and I follow him. Outside, the earth shakes violently as crackling yellow, orange, and red flames devour a neighbor's hut. Gray smoke floats to the sky, and white ashes fall on us like powder. Chow! Kim! I yell. Follow me! Stay together, the father hollers to his family. He picks up two of the children and jumps out of the hut. The mother holds the baby tightly in her arms and follows. Kim leaps into the hut and grabs his backpack while Chow and I wait. All around us, people cry and scream for help as more rockets rain on the village. The dark night is bright as many houses are engulfed by fire and villagers rush to evacuate. With our legs shaking in fear, we follow the father, ducking when he ducks, keeping low when he keeps low. We come to the river and, holding hands, wade across it. The river splashes in waves of thousands of people jump in it at once, trying to get to the other side. With small bundles on their heads or draped on their shoulders, and small children hanging on their backs, the villagers wade across the chest deep stream, desperately reaching for safety. Once on the other side, we find shelter in an old abandoned warehouse with a low concrete roof propped up by three remaining walls. We stay here tonight, the father tells us. It is guarded by the Yuns and it is safe. The shelter is filling up fast as more and more people arrive. Among them, I see Pithy running through the door. Pithy, over here! I scream over the wails and moans of others. She waves and runs toward us with her mom and brothers settling in the space next to us. We spend the night in the dark, afraid that any light might signal our whereabouts to the Khmer Rouge soldiers. Everyone is quiet, breathing softly, some even trying to sleep. My heart beats loudly, jumping at every sound as I crouch in between Pithy and Chow, praying to Pa to protect us. Chow sits beside me, holding Kim's hand tight. I grip my teeth hard together to stay calm. Outside in the distance, the mortars and rockets continue to explode through the night. The hours pass slowly. I tap my feet as if to beat off some fast to the beat of some fast song, hoping to make time go by faster. Chow now sits cross-legged, her hands clasping together and then unclasping. Next to her, Kim lies on the ground, using his backpack as a pillow. The father and mother stretch their legs beside us, with the children sleeping on both their laps. All around us, families are lying down on the ground with no mats or blankets separating them from the dirt. Their knees pull up close to their chests and their arms prop up their heads like pillows. By early morning, it is quiet again. I can almost feel the shelter expand with air as everyone lets out a sigh of relief. Then, without warning, the whistle of a rocket flies near us and hits our shelter. The blast almost knocks the air out of my lungs. I reach for Pithy's arm, then jerk my hand back as my palm touches something wet and sticky on her. My stomach churns. I turn to see Pithy, lying face down on the ground, quiet and motionless. The top of her skull is caved in. A pool of blood slowly seeps into the dirt around her head. Her hair is wet and matted with small bits of a tofu-like substance on her black head. Her blood and pieces of brain are still on my hand. Pithy's mom screams for her and then gathers Pithy into her arms. I wipe her blood and brains on my pant legs. In a panic, I get up and run after Kim and Chow out of the shelter, away from Pithy, away from her screaming mother, away from the sorrow that threatens to take residence in my heart. Outside, people are scattered everywhere, screaming and crying as they run in every direction, bumping and pushing each other. Kim and Chow hold hands and run ahead of me, yelling for me to keep up. We don't know where to run to, we just run. Kim stops running and looks back at the shelter. I left behind the backpack, he yells. Keep running, I'll get it and catch up, I scream to him, and before he can answer, I am gone. I know he has to take care of Chow. Entering the destroyed warehouse, the thick smell of burnt flesh quickens my pulse. Black smoke obstructs my vision, stings my eyes. Stepping over slabs of concrete and parts of the wall that has fallen, I make my way to our spot. My heart drops at the sight of Pithy's mom holding her corpse to her chest, weeping. Pithy is limp in her arms, her blood soaking into her mom's blouse. So much blood everywhere. Then I see that Pithy's mom is also injured. She is bleeding from her stomach and arms. Pithy's brother squats beside them, urging his mom to leave. His voice quivering, he tells her the Khmer Rouge soldiers are crossing the river and will be upon them any minute. I grab the backpack, ignoring the pleas and cries for help. Looking straight ahead, I jump over the dead and run to meet my brother and sister. I see them waiting for me and scream for them to run ahead. The rockets have stopped, but the Khmer Rouge soldiers are getting closer. I hear their bullets whiz past me. I dare not turn and look. I know they are there. I run for my life. In front of me, a man falls from a bullet. His body stops mid stride, his chest jerking forward before he falls to the ground. Many people get hit and drop one by one to the ground all around me. Some lie still while others crawl on their elbows trying to reach safety. After I catch up with Chow and Kim, we all run and do not look back. We see an old remnant of a cement wall. It sticks out of the ground 3 feet tall by 4 feet wide. We crouch behind it. Chow covers her ears with her hands and squeezes her eyes shut. Kim is white, leaning against the wall for support. We stay there for what seems like hours until all is quiet again. No longer deafened by the bombs, I finally notice something circling and buzzing over my head. Then I feel then I feel like many tiny pins are pricking my skin. Hornets! I scream. We get up to see that we have disturbed a hornet's nest. They cannot get a break. Big red welts cover my arms and legs. We were so scared we did not feel the pain when we got stung. When we believe it is safe, we leave to find our foster family. Finally, we spot them near the Yun camp. You all stay here with the women and children, the father tells us. Stay here until we come back for you. The men must clean the village of its dead bodies, he says before he goes off to the village that afternoon. He tells us that the Yuns have retaken our village from the Khmer Rouge a few hours ago. It is worse than anyone could have imagined, the father says to the mother after returning from his village. One couple was hiding in their dugout bomb shelter, which is only a hole in the ground. The soldiers threw a grenade in it, killing them both. We also found many of the victims' heads hanging by the hair in front of their door or tossed about on the street. The Khmer Rouge soldiers surely feel these people betrayed them by staying with the Union. Stories about victims of the Khmer Rouge attack spread like fire. There were stories about a baby thrown in the air and speared with a bayonet, the body of one mutilated man lying naked on top of another, a man's torso found in front of his house, and the bottom half on someone else's front door. There are bodies of men found with their chests cut open and their livers missing. The Khmer Rouge soldiers believe that eating the livers of their enemies will give them strength and power. These images of the massacre play themselves over and over in my head as I take tentative steps back toward the village that evening. I do not doubt the truth of the stories. I know Pol Pot's men are capable of this. I walk behind the father and his family. Chow and Kim trudge ahead of me, their eyes focusing on the ground. There are smoldering remains of bonfires giving off the stench of burnt human flesh all through the village. Trails and puddles of blood stain the steps and posts of the huts. My eyes are on the ground wherever I go, steering clear of anything that looks like a grenade. I am also afraid of stepping on a landmine, which the villagers say Khmer Rouge soldiers plant after an attack, maiming and killing people long after they have fled. A few days after the attack, I happened to walk by Pithy's brother while gathering wood. He is about Kim's age, and like Kim, his eyes are very sad. His body is wiry and agile, allowing him to easily climb palm trees for their fruit. I stand there watching him, admiring his ability to get up and slide down the tree so fast. Chum reap soar, I call out. He nods at me. Where are you off to? I do not ask him about Pithy. Every day I go fishing and pick palm fruits for Ma. She is in the hospital. I bring food for her and stay with her through the night. She is getting better. I am surprised he is saying so much to me. He peels the fruit and hands me a slice. Akum, I say thank you to him, but he does not hear me. He is very far away now. He picks up his fruit and heads off to the hospital. The next day I see him again at the same place peeling palm fruits. I walk over and ask, how is your mom doing today? He looks up and I see that his eyes are red and angry. Leave me alone. Don't bother me, he yells and comes after me with a large rusty silver cleaver. With my knees shaking, I run from him. Get away from me. I hate you all. He screams as I crouch and hide in the bushes. Suddenly he stops coming after me and stands transfixed, dropping his cleaver. With his shoulders slumped, he stoops and slowly sits on the ground. His elbows rest on his knees, his face buried in his hands. He cries long, hollow sobs, and his shoulders shake uncontrollably. My heart leaps for him. I want to reach out to him, but instead I turn and walk away. He is alone now, too. It is April 1979. Our future looks bleaker every day. I dread the idea of going to live with another family, but I know it will happen soon. Kim is still hoping our brothers Choi and Meng are alive somewhere and that soon they will come for us. We don't know how to go about searching for either of them or our uncles in Bat Dang. After completing his chores every evening, Kim sets off to the Yoon camp. There is an area there where the newly arriving displaced people stay and where people congregate to try and find each other. Every time someone new arrives at the base, Kim asks if they know or have ever heard of our brothers, and always they give him the same sad answer. Each night he drags himself back to give us the news, but my heart always sinks before he has had a chance to say anything. My world darkens when the thought that they might be dead enters my mind. I force it to go away. Choi and Meng have to be alive somewhere out there. I am feeding the baby when one of the kids runs over and tells me Kim is coming with some man. I cannot dare to hope. Chow and I look at each other, our eyes full of fear, praying the man is our brother. I see Kim's figure as he approaches us. Meng walks beside Kim. I do not know whether to cry or run to him. I am filled with so much happiness. He is alive. We are a family. I find myself feeling shy and I stand stiff and awkward. Meng smiles and musses my hair. My heart soars quickly at the touch of his hand. He is real, not a figment of my imagination. You're coming with us, Meng says, and goes to talk to the father. When Meng comes back out, Chow, Kim, and I leave with him. While Kim and Meng talk, Chow and I are quiet. Looking at my oldest brother, my heart is heavy with the memories of Mom. He has her almond shaped eyes, long face, high cheekbones, and thin lips. In Phnom Penh, he wore blue bell bottom pants, jean jackets, and thin sideburns that were trendy at the time. He was nice to everyone, and girls thought him handsome. Now he is 22 and already an old man. Yet even in his tattered black pajama shirt and pants, with his weathered face and sad eyes, I still see the brother I knew in Phnom Penh. Meng takes us to the area where all the new arrivals live. Their dark green tents are set up in the middle of a group of trees. Around the front there are two black cloth hammocks between tree trunks tied low to the ground. The tents and the hammocks look soiled, but they feel more like a home to me than the biggest hut here. He tells us he and Choi are living with three women friends in two tents. He says Choi's wife somehow escaped the labor camp when the Yuns invaded. He believes she returned to her family's village to search for surviving family members. The women whom they are living with are friends. It is dangerous for women to be on their own, so they asked if they could live with my brothers. Shortly after we arrive at their tents, Choi returns too. I watch as he saunters slowly toward us. He moves gracefully, his steps firm and steady. He always reminds me of a tiger, strong, fast, agile, and mean when he bares his teeth. The sleeves of his fading black shirt and pants are rolled up, showing us muscular calves and forearms. His eyes are dark, his face is bony, his jaws are squared, and his ears stand straight. At only 20 years old, already everything about Choi gives you the impression of hardness. When he sees us, his face softens and he smiles broadly. Walking over, he greets Kim Chow and me. While talking to Meng, he leaves his hand resting on my head, the way Pa used to do. Our family sits near the fire that night, listening to Meng tell their story. Choi and he were together in a labor camp when the Yun invaded Camp Uchia at the end of December. One night, rockets landed near their camp, and in the confusion, many people escaped and ran away, including Choi's wife. But Meng and Choi were unlucky, and they found themselves confronted by Khmer Rouge soldiers just outside their hut. The soldiers did not kill them because they needed them as porters. As the Unions moved closer and closer, Khmer Rouge soldiers pushed them farther into the jungle. When the Khmer soldiers stopped each night to rest, Choi cut firewood while men cooked meals for them all. One night, Choi told Meng they had to make their escape. The soldiers were moving them up the mountain where they would be under total Khmer Rouge control, isolated from the world and cut off from all the escape routes. If they did not make their break now, the chance might never come again. While the soldiers were sleeping, Choi and Meng pretended to go relieve themselves. Each stole a 20-pound bag of rice and they met in the woods. At first they proceeded down the trail, but fearing the soldiers' ability to track them, they took off back into the woods. There they followed the sound of rushing water to a stream, and once there, tied a few logs together to make a raft. With the rice bags on the raft, they floated downstream. The water was cold and rough, threatening many times to tear the raft apart. But with teeth chattering and bodies shivering, they managed to stay afloat all night. In the morning, they arrived at the base camp of Perset City, where we are now. We are together again, seeing my eyes slowly closing. Meg takes me to his cloth hammock. I climb in and suddenly feel very tired. Chow comes over and climbs it next to me. Our bodies press against each other as the hammock folds over us like a pie, protecting its peas. Drifting off, I think of Pa and Ma. I miss them so very much. By the fire, I hear Kim's voice quivering as he tells them about Pa, Ma, and Geek. They whisper to each other as if trying to shield Chow and me from news we already knew. I shut my eyes, not wanting to see Meng and Choi's faces as they receive the news. The remainder of our family is together again. With my brothers around me, I feel safe and relaxed as I drift off to sleep. I hear Meng announce that our next step is to return to Bat Dang to search for our aunts and uncles. Bat Dang is Ma's hometown and where we left Uncle Liang and eldest Uncle Hyang. We will go there and wait for other surviving family members to return. Since Bat Dang is many miles away, we have to stay here a while longer and gather supplies. Though risky because the Khmer Rouge may still control sections of the route, we, we will travel by foot again and hope to be reunited with our relatives.